All right, big thanks to Portland, one who knows Portland very well. I'm talking about Council Chair Jamie Dunphy, who's in studio. Someone who knows Portland very well. I'm talking about Council Chair Jamie Dunphy, who's in studio. Jamie, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's what's cool about you is like you're like me or anyone else in this room. Like you are Portland through and through because you basically grew up here.
Absolutely.
You went to high school at Grant.
Yep.
You went to college at PCC and then, graduated from Portland State University.
Yep. I started a business here, raised my family here. It's a little bit weird continuing to live in the city you went to high school in. At some point, I need to go move somewhere else and have that scary moment of not knowing where the grocery store is. But God, I love Portland.
Yeah, it's such a great area. It's a great environment. And like right now, like this time of year with the summertime, the weather is spectacular, right?
Yeah, as long as the wildfire smoke stays away. Yeah.
All right. So I read a couple of things about you I want to ask you about because I spent my first 9 years in Oklahoma out in the country. So we had a lot of animals, which I loved. And my dad was real big on teaching me how to care for my chickens and my ducks and my horse, because you learn responsibility that way. But you have a couple of goats, don't you?
I do. I have two full-size Nubian goats. My male goat's over 300 pounds. They're huge. And I've had chickens and dogs and cats, and I'm a huge animal lover.
Do you use the goats for milk?
Nope. They are a brother-sister pair. They just, they're fixed, so they're not reproducing. And if they aren't reproducing, they don't make milk. So they're just pets. And we have a little feeder station on the corner, so neighbors come by all day and just pet them and feed them, and they're deeply spoiled animals.
I had no idea, and then I was reading up on the goats, but apparently they make terrific pets.
They're so fun. They're like dumb dogs, and they're dumb dogs that are also prey animals, which is an entirely different thing. But I spend a 4th of July sort of sitting in their barn with them, petting them, trying to calm them down.
Dude, that's so great.
But they're wonderful, and I live in the city of Portland and get to have full-size goats, and it's really fun.
And the kids that come by in the neighborhood probably love it, don't they?
All day. It is so much fun to watch.
That's great. All right, I wanted to ask you because your career in public service has been very interesting, but from what I gathered, like you didn't even anticipate being in this role where you're now council chair. How did it come to be?
Yeah, I've been in public service for a very long time, for over 20 years. Originally, I wanted to be a teacher. That was my career path, and honestly, when I left to go to PSU and get my degree in education, the education system was so broken, I just couldn't take part in it, and I switched to political science and worked at different levels of government. I worked for U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley. I worked for Portland City Commissioner Nick Fish. I was a lobbyist for the American Cancer Society for a little while. I honestly, after Commissioner Fish passed away in January of 2020 and the pandemic happening, I kind of thought I was done in government proper. I was pretty burned out. But then this new form of government happened, and the position moved from being not only a legislator to also an executive in charge of city bureaus to actually just being a proper legislative position, which seemed really exciting.
Yeah.
And then we had districts, and my side of town, East Portland, suddenly had dedicated seats, and it sounded like a really great opportunity. And then, candidly, there were 95 people running for city council. And almost all of them good human beings, but very few of them knew where the bathrooms were in City Hall, let alone how a bill becomes a law. And
Yes.
I was like, maybe I have some skills to offer to help this new form of government. And, I won. And then unfortunately, my expectations were correct that I could, in fact, help people. And now I've had to be the city council president for the last 8 months.
Yeah,
And,
what a challenging job that has been. But I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you about the expanded council now
Yeah.
with 12 members. Do you think that this new form, as you guys are kind of feeling it out, has a chance to be successful? What are your thoughts early on?
I really do think that this is better in every way. I think that not only the district representation, the larger, more expanded council, the clearer, more defined roles of the city council versus the mayor versus, for the first time in history, a professional city administrator. Like, it is so much clearer how information passes, how dollars are being spent, what outcomes are. I really believe that this system is going to be just transformational compared to the old form of government. The old form of government just really did not work, and people didn't have a real sense of how broken it was until like maybe the last 10 years. And this actually has the potential to fix some of the basic stupid things that happen in our city.
That's great. Council Chair Jamie Dunphy is in studio. I want to go back to last Thursday. You were in what appeared to be 24-hour discussions with the council. You guys spent a full day going over many things. 19 amendments were voted down, and I wonder your thoughts. My guess would be because maybe if you don't add amendments now, it makes it easier for your negotiators to work from a clean slate, right? I don't know if that's right or wrong, but walk me through that process on why there were no amendments on Thursday.
Yeah, as council president, my job is to handle the process behind all of our public policy conversations. And so I have been trying to drive public engagement and collaboration with the administration and the recognition that the city councilors are not negotiators. We have a professional negotiation team. I have never negotiated a $600 million sports franchise contract.
I haven't either.
Yeah, so I have no idea what is actually going to strengthen my hand or what is going to weaken my hand.
Yes.
And there's a lot of great ideas. Like through the public testimony, we've heard some really great ideas of things that we would love to see. Street level pricing, right? I'd love for a beer to cost the same inside the venue as it does outside. Naming rights, all these things. I don't know what puts our negotiators in the best position. And so what I asked for council was, if as you are considering amendments, please include our negotiators. Please work with them to find something that is not going to be a poison pill, not going to be something that could damage this process.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of my colleagues did not do that. They didn't go talk to the negotiators and see if the process was aligned with what their vision was. And I told my colleagues very clearly, like, if you weren't going to follow the process I laid out, I'm not going to vote for your amendments. And because I really did think that if we put something in there without it being vetted, without it being strategic, without it being really intentional, that could be a reason why the Blazers walk away, and I'm just unwilling to let the Blazers walk away because of a silly little mistake.
That makes perfect sense. Are you confident? Do you like the team that you have with your negotiators as you guys continue to move forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Between the city, the county, and the state, we have a really solid negotiating team. We have very clear record of where the city council, the county commissioners, and the state legislators all want to go, what they want to see, what the realm of possibility is. And then we have some very serious professionals who have been doing this for their entire careers, who are ready to get to the table if the Blazers show up to the other side of that table.
Yeah, that's a big question, and we want to see that happen. We want both sides to engage.
Absolutely.
All right, so I think this is important because I think some people are maybe, they're new to this, or maybe they become more politically active because the Trailblazers were a threat to possibly leave town. So it's nice to see people engaged, but you're going to be in the thick of things tomorrow. So walk us through the process tomorrow for the vote. What's going on? What are you guys trying to accomplish? And if it passes, what does that mean?
Yeah, so tomorrow is the vote on the term sheet. We have worked with the state and the county to put together a document that is our opening salvo for those conversations. We are creating a joint authority, a joint legal authority between the state, county, and city. That is our negotiating team. And we are handing them this document that's only like 9 pages long right now. It will eventually become a 300-page document. And this is for them to go in and say, this is where we're starting, where are you starting, and how do we start the back and forth? So tomorrow is a very important vote, but it is only the opening moments. It is not the final terms. When we know that the Blazers are going to ask for things, we will have things to ask for in return. It will be a back and forth. The final contract will not come back to us looking like it does now. We know that for sure. This is really just the first major step in trying to begin those professional conversations.
Wow. So tomorrow, you're looking at a full day of work tomorrow then?
It very likely could be. We're not having any more public testimony at this point. We've already had our public testimony. We've heard from a lot of passionate folks on both sides of this. In fact, it's so much passion and it's so evenly divided that it's largely unhelpful because we have like 50% of the people saying, do not let the Blazers leave at all costs. And we have 50% of the Blazers people saying, do not cut a blank check to a billionaire. And they're both right. And so I think we will land this tomorrow. I think that we will see the city council, who's very serious about getting to a deal, collaborating tomorrow. There may be some additional amendments. I'll tell you that I worked with the negotiating team to say, like, you heard this dialogue with counselors. You heard where the tension points were. You heard where counselors wanted to see a better deal and a better return for the city. So there will be a couple of additional small amendments that I think meaningfully move the overall term sheet in a better direction and keeps our hand in a very strong place. Doesn't add anything crazy, doesn't give the Blazers an excuse to say, oh, this is a total non-starter, we're going to walk away. We think that this is still going to be a national industry deal, and we feel a market rate deal, and I feel very good about it.
Do you think, based on what you know right now, do you think you have the support to pass this tomorrow?
I do. I think that I think people are going to be surprised. I think that this is not going to be as close of a vote as it. Now, it's not going to be 12 votes. Don't get me wrong. Some of my colleagues have very principled positions on this and are being absolutely reasonable in representing those positions. But I do think that there's an overwhelming majority of council who are going to support this at the end of the day.
Yeah, it was interesting to watch the discussions last week because maybe you can talk about how your role as council chair is different than, being a councilman, because it looked like there were people who were visibly upset with your stance on
Absolutely.
things.
Yeah, there were a lot of folks who were absolutely upset, and some of my closest colleagues were really upset with me. I'm very serious about demonstrating to the public that the city council, that the media narrative about the city council is not accurate. We're not just bickering and infighting. We are having real conversations about the best direction for the city and the best way to spend these dollars. This is a real, the public needs to understand where we are spending dollars, and that it's not just a blank check to a billionaire. And we are not the negotiators, so we as city council need to be very intentional and strategic about it. Some of my colleagues have very, very strong opinions about what should be in this, and sometimes that doesn't exist in a national, market deal. So we're iterative. It's still collegial. We're still all, getting along at the end of the day, but there's real passion and real differences of opinions out there.
Yeah, there's no question. I've heard from so many different people on both sides, and it seems like everyone is making really good points. What I've always said about the money, the 573 million or whatever the actual number is, that's not money that you're going to place in Tom Dundon's pocket. I've always looked at that as it's for us, right?
Right.
It's for the people, because we're the ones that have that community gathering place where we get to go to concerts, Blazer games, fire games, all the different things that go on. So I've always looked at that as kind of for the people more so than for Tom Dundon.
Absolutely. I mean, the city of Portland, the government of city of Portland owns the Moda Center. We bought it in 2022 or 2023 for $1. Should we have done that? I don't think so. Probably not. But we did. And we did it wide-eyed, understanding that at that time it required $500 million worth of renovation just to operate at its current unrenovated status, just to fix the things that were broken and bring it up to code. It was almost $500 million 3 years ago.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and we knew that. The previous city council knew that. We are now at a point where we continue to own this building. If we do it without our, if we do it on our own, that's almost $600 million that the city does not have. Right now, our state and county partners are matching this almost 3-1. That's a hell of a deal.
Yes.
That's nothing we're going to see as another opportunity. And if we don't get this done by the end of the year, those dollars go away. And
so it's definitely beneficial for you guys to work together to get this done so that you can have partners in this process of something that has to be done.
Absolutely. Right. As the mayor was saying earlier, the renovation has to happen. This is the oldest unrenovated stadium in the NBA. And if we lose the Blazers and we lose the state money, we still own this enormous, outdated building that is not sufficient for the WNBA. It's not sufficient for Cirque du Soleil. It's not sufficient for some of the major concerts. We cannot have Beyonce or Taylor Swift come to Portland because the Moda Center cannot accommodate their set pieces and the lighting equipment that we need in order to have those kinds of
I didn't even think of it like that. So set pieces or lighting equipment that certain acts need to put on shows would not be available.
Absolutely. We are missing out on concerts. And even, like I said, even some of the fancier Cirque du Soleil acts can't come to Portland because the Moda Center can't accommodate them. So if we do nothing, if we lose the Blazers and we lose that state money, we still own a deeply outdated, now largely irrelevant piece of infrastructure that will quickly turn into a problem, right? We know that if you have large areas become sort of dark and not be able to activate them with activity, they become places for drug dealing. They become places for camps. They become places for crime. And we cannot afford that right now. We can't afford to have the entire, Rose Quarter turn into what downtown looked like 4 or 5 years ago.
I agree. With the for the 120 million, there's been discussions about where that money's going to come from. It could be, part of the Clean Energy Fund or maybe from the sale of the Trailblazers. How are those discussions going amongst you in the council in terms of where that money's going to come from?
That's really hard right now because I see an absolute argument for an investment from the Clean Energy Fund, right? Like the Moda Center right now operates on diesel generators on the roof. There's absolutely an argument to be said that replacing the diesel generators, installing solar and other kinds of new clean energy, fixing the AC, fixing some of the electrical, fixing the elevators even. There's a good argument to be done that with carbon neutral technology and
Yeah.
using those dollars. But like with everything, we need to know what we're buying. We don't have schematics. There's no architectural designs. There's no master Excel spreadsheet that says we need this many bags of concrete and this many sticks of lumber. Like, we need to know that, and not just at a high level, beautiful renderings of drawings of what it could look like. We need to know the details. If those details are presented to the city, if they're presented to the Clean Energy Fund committee, if they're presented to Prosper Portland's board of directors, there's clearly a path forward to getting this funded.
And you've reached out personally to ask for those details
Absolutely.
on multiple occasions,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And are you still getting nothing?
Absolutely nothing. We have not received any additional documentation in any sort of form since April. We've been asking weekly for specifics since April, and the only response we have gotten was, in fairness, the response to my letter inviting the Trailblazers president to the city council work session. They did respond in writing to that, and they came, and it was an opportunity for the community to actually see this dynamic in real life.
My reaction to that open work session with Dwayne Hankins and their team in person, I thought it was productive.
Yeah. Clearly, we are still pretty far apart between where the city's position is and where they want to be. But at the very least, it was a constructive conversation that moved the dialogue forward. We need more of that. We need to actually move to the next step and get the Blazers to the table. Stop, the media back and forth is not helpful. We need to be really serious about this next chapter.
All right, this is awesome. Council Chair Jamie Dunphy is in studio. The big vote's coming up tomorrow. We'll step aside. When we come back, you can continue to fire your telephone number. Jamie Dunphy in studio here in the Rip City Drive. What is your telephone number? Jamie Dunphy in studio here in the Rip City Drive. All right, very happy to have Council Chair Jamie Dunphy in studio. He was kind enough to share his time with us. If you have a question for him, 88528 on the text line, or you can call it 503-248-0620. The big vote is coming up tomorrow. As you've taken a look around the country, do you have an idea of what a fair deal is for the city of Portland?
We've been told that this is a fair deal, that having this many community partners coming in and that it meeting, that we had an assessment done a few years ago and that we are largely adjusting for inflation, that has been considered a fair market deal. And we've been told that by the NBA. We've been told that by objective observers from other parts of the country. So but again, I've never negotiated a deal like this. I'm just trusting the professionals to say, yeah, this lines up.
That's interesting. I know when you originally sent the term sheet over to the Blazers, they responded with, it's a non-starter. Do you have any idea today or any more of an idea of what they want today?
I mean, a little bit more now, just in as much as we were saying, President Dwayne Jenkins came to the city council and actually said there are some things on here that we don't like and that there are things we want to see. Some of the complaints were a little detached from reality. Like they complained about like the state income tax. That's not something that the city of Portland can deal with. They complained about some of the other local taxes. Again, not something the city of Portland can do. But it's good to know at least that they do have in mind some ideas of what a successful partnership will look like. They haven't outlined it at the detail that we would hope by now. In a normal process, the term sheet would have gone to the Blazers 6 months ago and they would have sent it back and we would have sent it back to them 3 or 4 times between now. Instead, the first time they ever got to see it, because they stopped showing up at the table, was when we released it publicly. And it's such a deeply different way of going about it. I can't really tell where what is normal anymore.
Throughout this process, you mentioned how a lot of this is played out in the media. What's some of the biggest misinformation that maybe people need to be cleared up on that you've seen fly around?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. I mean, one, there are broad accusations of sort of backroom dealings and giving money to a billionaire and cutting a blank check and trying to listen to moneyed interests behind closed doors rather than the voices of people who are screaming at us from the from the testimony table. That's not true. There have been there are always conversations about fine details, but this has been as close to a transparent process as I could hope for. It's far from perfect. Don't get me wrong, but we were from the very beginning intentional about trying to make sure the public understood where this conversation was going and what it is they were buying for their dollars. I will take some ownership over the fact that this process has been deeply imperfect because, as I mentioned, as council president, I am in charge of process. And a lot of the Blazers sort of action happened around the exact same time that the city council was trying to address the largest budget hole in the last 60 years. We just had to cut $170 million out of our budget and lay off a number of positions. And as council president, I don't get any more staff, any more capacity, any additional resources to be able to do all of this. And so I had to make a decision. We're going to finish the budget. We're going to get through it. We're going to pass it. And then we're going to pivot the full of government all towards this Moda Center situation. And that is what has happened. And you can see basically the week that we finished the budget, suddenly we were rolling out community engagement opportunities and new websites and new all these things. But ultimately systems are built by people, and we're a new form of government, and we're struggling to get all the things going. So I own that. Like the communication for the public should have been better.
Yeah, but a difficult time for you guys with a new expanded council to all of a sudden get a deal of this magnitude dropped in your lap, and you had no choice but to act because it's critical.
Truly, yeah. We did not. I wish we were not talking about the Moda Center right now. There are so many other huge problems right now. And so many things that we could proactively be doing to help the average person who's living in our city and is recognizing the struggles that our community is going through. Homelessness is obviously the number one issue of our day. We have so many unsheltered neighbors sleeping on our streets. That should be our full focus. We have thousands of people falling into homelessness every year. We have crumbling infrastructure. We have bridges that need to be replaced. We need potholes to get filled. We need fields to get mowed. And we're having to talk about the Moda Center and how to rationalize dealing with a out-of-town jerk billionaire who does not seem to actually care about Portland.
Well, when it comes to the revitalization, and I think you hit on all the key points that I hear from people, and just when you're talking to people in the community, How important are the Trailblazers being a part of this community for the hoped revitalization of the downtown area and, of course, Albina, all the surrounding areas here in Portland?
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely vital to our identity as a region. We are, we're not a major sports city. We're one of the smaller markets, but no other franchise has a fan base like the Blazers do, and that's known throughout the country. And that is so important to our sense of place and our sense of self. I've only been to one Blazers game in my life, and I care about the Blazers being here because that is who we are. And so I desperately want to make sure they are staying if they possibly can. It would be such a huge step backwards. We really are setting the foundation for what Portland's next great chapter is going to be. And I've been in public service for 20 years. I'm not naturally an optimist, but I feel genuinely hopeful about what the next 2, 5, 10 years in Portland is going to bring. If the Blazers leave, that is just such a reputational damage to us, regardless of even if we do everything right. That's such a huge hit to our collective consciousness as a region. I'm really worried about that. I'm not willing to bankrupt the city's future in order to try and preserve that, but I really want the Blazers to stay here. And I can tell you that all 12 members of the city council and the mayor absolutely feel the exact same way.
Yeah, I was thinking the other night about all the tentacles are far-reaching, but it's not just basketball games, but there's a lot of people that have jobs at Moda Center or work, at all the different events. The rideshare drivers that are taking people to and from Moda Center. I've got friends who own restaurants in town that people will gather for the different basketball games, both Fire and Trailblazers. Like, it's hard to imagine. You forget about some of the far-reaching tentacles of having a team like that in town.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we said, the Blazers, if we don't renovate the stadium, the Fire will not be able to perform there either. And we are already losing concerts. Like, I spoke to the manager of the Hyatt by the convention center. The two biggest
Great hotel, by the way.
It's fantastic. And the two biggest nights that they've ever had in terms of room sales, restaurants, and bars were when Springfield was in town. Springsteen was in town, and when Fish were in town. Like, if we don't renovate the stadium, we don't get those concerts pretty soon also. And so it's all about it. And the other part of it is if we lose the momentum in the direction we're going right now, the Albina Vision Trust is trying to do something truly transformational for the community that was displaced from that area, and to try and develop some of the land around the Moda Center for housing and for a new, true neighborhood feel that was displaced by the installation of I-2 or I-5 North, or I-5 just north and south, I guess. If the Blazers go away, I don't know how they move forward either. And there are so many other parts of this that is just, it would be such a huge hit. I really don't even want to truly imagine a scenario where they actually leave.
No, but it's funny. Like when we were living, my mom and dad, my brother and I, in Colorado before, my parents had come out here on a business trip. My dad was working. We had a family meeting at the table. Hey, what do you guys think about moving to Portland? I'd never been here before. I was 11 years old, but I knew one thing. I had a poster in my room. Clyde Drexler was on the poster. I thought, well, they got Clyde the Glide. It can't be that bad,
Absolutely.
And so it was already in my mind that, the Blazers were part of the identity of Portland. I wanted to ask you something about the Blazers. Their unwillingness to respond or to engage with you in conversation. Is that like a negotiation tactic? Like, what's your read on that?
I'm sure it is. I hope so. I hope it is not a genuine dissatisfaction or disinterest in being here. It's starting to look like it might be more than a negotiating tactic. I hope it is that this new owner is a tough businessman in a way that he's coming in to push some weight around and try to get a good deal, but that he actually does want to stay here. I don't know that is the case, and I have, it's been months now of waiting to see if their negotiating position changes, and it hasn't. So I hope it is a tough negotiating position and not just an indication that they are trying to leave.
Okay, so let's say that tomorrow you have the support and the term sheet passes and you guys enter into this period of time in negotiation with the Blazers. Like, how difficult are those negotiations going to be, and what are some concerns as you enter into that based on what you know right now?
Based on what I know right now, for example, the Blazers have said they won't even come to the negotiating table unless the city reopens the current existing bridge agreement, which is not a non-starter for us. We're in the middle of this lease. We have 3 years left on this lease. We're not going to go back and renegotiate that.
Why would they want that?
Because ultimately what they have been saying is that there is a clause in there that says that if they leave, they are required to leave the stadium in a first-class condition. And if they leave and choose to relocate the team, we have some legal protections in there in that contract. That only happens if they leave. There's no other legal risk to the Blazers unless they choose to start packing boxes and getting out of here, in which case the city will use all of our legal protections to be able to protect Portland.
And that's where their discussion of litigation came up.
Yeah, that is where the discussion of litigation came up. This is this is not a secret term. This is actually something that has been in the lease with the Blazers going back 30 years. This was something in the original lease, the first-class stadium status. So this shouldn't have been a surprise. This should have been something that the Blazers ownership knew full well walking in when they bought this team.
If you guys come to terms and agree to help fund the renovations for the Moda Center, have you gotten any indication from the commissioner, or have you talked to anyone with an idea of how the board of governors of the NBA would look at that? My guess would be, based on the people I've talked to, that if you guys agree to support the renovations, that they wouldn't want to turn down that after you go through the process of negotiations and then walk away from that.
That is my understanding. I've never personally spoken to any of the NBA commissioners, or I was one time back in March on a Zoom call where Adam Silver was on there. But like, other than that, I have had no direct conversations with the NBA, but I can say that is what I have heard. I have heard that if the city continues to show up and that the broad strokes of the opening conversation end up similar to where we were back in January and February, that's good faith negotiating, and then we've created a market deal. They are not eager to relocate. They don't want to do it. They don't want to also, I think, spit in the face of future cities that are going to be renegotiating arena deals soon. And truly, to imagine that the city of Portland, the Multnomah County, and the state of Oregon got this far in this process in this environment.
How often does that happen in bureaucracy?
Almost never. And for something this complicated and this vaguely, this controversial, it is unprecedented, the level of cross-government collaboration. I think this should be something that the NBA is proud of and wants to demonstrate the way that we are trying to show up for their team. I hope I'm right. I hope that that's the case. I hope they don't want us to move. I know, they're trying to expand the franchises to Vegas and Seattle. I don't know that there's a whole lot of other places for them to go, but I have been told that the NBA commissioners are not at least eager for the conversation about moving.
Yeah, and I would say that this market, this because you've been here a long time, Jamie, that it's a successful NBA market that has supported the team throughout the decades.
Absolutely. There are 10 teams in the NBA that make less revenue than Portland, and there are no teams in the entire NBA that have a better fan base.
That's awesome. Why would you want to walk away from that?
Correct. This is the best place for, I mentioned, I grew up in this city. I was a touring musician in my 20s. I got to go. Yeah, I got to go.
What'd you play?
Primarily guitar. I was in a rock band. I played on the Warped Tour in 2005.
How fun was that?
It was so much fun. It was so much fun just traveling around the country with my best friends. But I got to go see other cities.
Yeah.
I got to go experience them and think, like, do I want to live here? Is this a place that I could see myself setting up? And I never found any place that I liked better than Portland. I truly think that this is the best place in the country. And yeah, we're on our back foot right now, but like I said, the next 10 years are going to be an amazing next chapter, and I sure hope that the Blazers recognize that and choose to stay here for the long term.
What is the best concert you've seen live?
Ever? Well, maybe the first concert I ever got to see, which was Weird Al at the Oregon State Fair.
He's awesome.
He's amazing. This was 1998, I think I did that. But
you and I are close to we're not too far off, but yeah, like Weird Al. I remember when I was younger watching like TBS with Night Tracks, or when MTV came around, like the Weird Al videos were the best.
Absolutely, yeah.
And once he got Michael Jackson to sign off, everyone else jumped on board too.
Yep, that was my entire childhood right there. Yeah, but I've seen some fun concerts. I got to play some fun concerts. I've gotten to do some things.
I'm jealous, man.
I've lived a good life.
Playing a guitar is that doesn't suck.
No, it was really fun. It was really fun.
All right. Well, before you go, and I do appreciate your time, is there anything else that you want to? Oh, by the way, I did want to ask you this because I asked the mayor, but because you've been so involved through the political process on many different levels, how nice was it for you to see people who may not have been politically active, but because the Blazers are so near and dear to their heart, they're showing up at City Hall. They're getting a chance to speak at the public testimony. How fun was that for you to see the engagement?
Honestly, it's fantastic to see people come out and care about this place that they love, and to feel safe and respected, that they can come out and in sometimes not particularly friendly venues share their opinion for the first time. I've absolutely had people come up to me and say, I have never spoken to my government. I've never testified. I had to watch on YouTube how to even do it. But here I am because this is so important to me. And honestly, that is, if nothing else comes of this, I'm proud that may have invited some people into this conversation, even if we had to have this whole conversation about the Moda out of sequence.
Yeah. How do you hope, in your best case scenario, how do you hope this situation plays out?
I think that tomorrow we will pass this term sheet. I think that there will be a couple of amendments that will make it stronger, and I think will make most folks in the community feel better about our opening position. And I think our negotiating team is going to get to work, and we will, if there is a path forward, we are on it. I think tomorrow it'll pass. I think it'll pass with stronger numbers than folks fear, and God willing, we will get the Blazers to the table and we will get a deal.
Do you think it will pass stronger than 7-5?
I do think it'll pass stronger than 7-5 tomorrow.
Wow.
I'm, perhaps to my own detriment, I am still optimistic that we can get probably 8, maybe even 9.
No, that'd be great.
It'd be incredible.
Because if you get that, because that shows a majority and that shows more people on the same page.
Absolutely. But, regardless, democracy is 50% plus 1. If we get it across the finish line, that is the government demonstrating that we are very serious about this. And I know that we can get that much done. So I think tomorrow is going to be a good day.
And then the negotiations, if tomorrow's a good day, it's probably going to take you're probably going to go into December. It'll take some time, right?
Absolutely. We will hear some interim updates. We will try to keep the community along for the whole process wherever we can. But yeah, December before, we'll close this out and hopefully before New Year's.
Did you find it interesting that when you guys sent out the term sheet, the majority of people I talked to, and you probably heard from some of your constituents as well, that most of the reaction was like, these are reasonable asks.
Absolutely. Overwhelmingly, I'm not. The biggest criticism I've had is, why didn't you go further? And that's
interesting.
That's absolutely fair. Like, there were things in there. It was a small c conservative first opening salvo. It really was. It was us trying to demonstrate that despite the Blazers not showing up, despite the sort of narrative of disarray, actually the city council is being very reasonable in our requests. Even the amendments that passed or didn't pass on Thursday, for the most part, they were very reasonable. And there were things that we've heard in conversation. Again, we're just being extremely cautious because the Blazers are not showing up.
Are you okay taking a phone call before you go?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go out to Skamania. Casey is on hold. Casey, you're on with Chad Doing and Council Chair Jamie Dunphy. What's on your mind?
Hey, thank you. I have a couple of comments and then a question for Jamie. First of all, I just want to, I feel for the position that the new counselors are in and Jamie's in and the city's in because, as Jamie said, without the renovations, even the fire is not, feasible. And I guess that's my comment is I guess one of the things that I take exception with, and Jamie, I think, refuted his own statement. He said two things are true. One is there's a camp that says, hey, by all means, keep the Blazers at all costs. The other camp is don't write a blank check to a billionaire. And I guess that the latter is, and I'm not on anybody's side here. I just want to see a fair deal and see the Blazers stay in Portland. But I guess I take exception to that, the latter comment, because it's Jamie himself said, hey, without this renovation of the arena, we're not going to get these big entertainment acts. We're not going to get the Beyoncés and the Taylor Swifts and we're not even going to have the fire. And so it's not a case of writing a blank check to a billionaire. It's not even close. I mean, that shouldn't even be a talking point, in my opinion. Now, my question is this. I used to work in construction for a big general contractor in Chicago for about 6 years in business development. The last thing that I ever wanted to do was present a budget to someone and not be able to meet it. So I hear Jamie saying over and over again this quote of, well, we need to see sticks of lumber and bags of concrete. So my question is, I think I saw something about them talking about bringing in an architect to do some initial design, but where did this number of $600 million come up with? Because the only way that I guess somebody had to do a rough order of magnitude budget, to be able to, because you want to present this worst case scenario of $600 million and then be able to design it and build it and come in ideally less than that. But like, where did the $600 million come from? Because I guess my concern is if that wasn't based on something concrete of some kind of rough order magnitude design budget, where did these numbers come from, $600 million?
All right, Casey, appreciate the phone call. I asked the mayor that same question, how the number came up with. There's a process and a formula for it, but why don't you comment on that?
Yeah, so I can't say to the specific dollar amount, but I can say that, for example, back in 2022, 2023, we had a condition assessment report. And at that time, that said that the building would require $400 to $500 million worth of investment just to upgrade the existing facilities without a full renovation, just to limp across keeping things, keeping the lights on. With some inflation and with some additional scope of things that early on the Blazers had said they were interested in, some things like, they want to redesign the grand entrance along the esplanade there and between the buildings. They wanted some fixing to the loading zone, stuff like that. The number 573 is what ultimately came out, and it's not. But the caller is exactly right. It's not based off of a detailed technical assessment off of architectural drawings. We have not hired an architect yet. That is a point of contention about whether or not the Blazers should have hired one by now, since ultimately Rip City Management is going to be the entity that would be doing the construction. They want the city to pay for part of the architectural designs. They want the city to pay for some of the outreach and all those other things. So we came up with the number 573 between the city, county, and state, and have basically said that this is the number that we are going to offer. If you're going above, or if the contract runs over, that's not going to be our responsibility. This is the maximum amount of dollars that is publicly available.
Yeah. Now the comment that Casey made about the just not going to put $600 million or hand a blank check to a billionaire. I think that's just the general perception that a lot of people in the community have, right? Like, hey, we have a billionaire owner who just bought the team. We don't want to give him tax dollars. Like,
exactly.
That's the perception, right?
Yeah, the perception is that this is a privately owned business in a privately owned facility, and that we are cutting a blank check without anything attached to it. The basics being that we do own the building and the money is going to our facility. That is a fundamentally different thing. And so that is I'm not saying that I'm cutting a blank check. I'm saying that is the narrative that the community hears. But when people get a little bit more of the nuance, they understand that that's not quite what is happening here, and it's not helpful for us to keep saying it.
All right, this meeting on Friday, I think it was a global architecture firm, Populous. What were they showing there? Was it just like pictures or an idea of what could it be?
Yeah, there's some like very high level renderings of what it could look like without getting into the actual engineering. I mean, they looked pretty.
But it does, again, like you said, without the details.
Right. It's just a drawing. It could be just literally an AI generated picture of, hey, what does a fancy Blazers stadium look like? But it's not real. It's not anything for us to actually react to yet.
All right. I really appreciate your time. Anything else you want to get out before tomorrow?
No, I want to honestly just thank the way that folks who have been listening to this, both in Portland and outside the Portland area, have been reaching out and trying to influence this, and recognize that this is as the caller was saying, and as you've said, like, this is a weird situation for us to be in, and it would be a hard situation if this was a normal negotiation. It would be a hard situation if we were a government that had 100 years of experience under us. We don't have either of those, and so I really appreciated the patience from the community and the guidance and the continued trust to show up and tell us, get this done. We're going to get it done in a right way. And
well, I just want to say thank you, like I did to the mayor. Like, it's been nice to see everyone, the county, the city, the state, show a desire to keep the Trailblazers in town, because you all understand the importance of having the team here and how much we love the Trailblazers. But to see you guys actively working through it, just nothing but mad respect, because I got to be honest with you, like, especially after watching your discussions on Friday, like, I don't want your job.
No.
It's brutal.
I don't know that I want my job much longer.
All right, Jamie Dunphy, the council chair here in the studio. Best wishes tomorrow for the vote.
Thank you very much.
And next time you come in studio, you got to bring the goats, man.
Absolutely.
I got to come over and meet them.
Yeah.